The clouds have parted, the sun is shining, the universe is back on the right path. Victor Wembanyama has saved basketball. The patron saint of France and the rest of the San Antonio Spurs have defeated the Oklahoma City Thunder on the road in Game 7, led by their 22-year-old superstar. Now, I'm not going to lie, there was times where my belief wavered, notably after Game 2, where the Thunder won on the road in San Antonio without Jalen Williams, and then again in Game 5, I believe, where the Thunder won in OKC, no AJ Mitchell, and no Jalen Williams. After that, I thought it may be a year too early for the Spurs. It just seemed like the Spurs were passing up opportunities to put down a injured and beaten up OKC team. Officiating aside, it made it seem like those losses were the Spurs kind of playing down to the Thunder level. Like they were passing up these huge opportunities to finish off the Thunder who were down one or two key players, and maybe they just didn't quite understand the stakes of the situation. That maybe with being as young as they are, they were content with overshooting their expectations, but hadn't yet developed the killer instinct to finish off the Thunder. But then Game 6 and 7, Wembanyama came out huge for the Spurs, knocking down threes. Game 7 especially, it seemed like every single Spur that stepped on the court contributed in a huge way, that they wouldn't have been able to win without even a single one of them playing as well as they did. Castle's defense the whole series, Harper showing up big after there was questions about whether he could play with Fox or not, and then he had the injury too. Fox coming off his own injury, playing pretty bad the entire series, and then showing up huge in Game 7, even though he's never really been in this type of situation either, this deep in the playoffs against this good of a team. You know, even though he's a vet, this was a first for him too. Keldon Johnson just hit the most timely momentum-killing threes for the Thunder, where every time it seemed like the Thunder made 2 or 3 good plays to cut the score down to like 6 or 8, Keldon Johnson would just hit like a huge contested 3 just to silence the crowd. Champagnie was maybe the Spurs' best player, even taking Wemby into consideration. For him to show up and hit 6 threes, 20 points, just an insanely clutch performance. Wemby himself who showed up and had a good game, and then even Cornette for the however many minutes he was on the court, having the 16 LeBron chase down block, just insane. Just insane for them all to show up and play great. Even Vassell, who's had great defense the whole series, who's even guarded and swatted down Chet. Just huge win for the Spurs. Amazing team performance. Honestly, I hope they go on to win it, because then that would put Wemby on like the Tom Brady, Mahomes type of trajectory where it's like, you know, the Tim Duncan too, where it's like this kid's 22, he's about to beat the Thunder and then go on to win a chip. I just think that'd be crazy, and Spurs deserve it for fighting evil for 7 games and coming out on top. On the Thunder side, Shea had a pretty good game, all things considered. He's the only Thunder player that really showed up in a big way. During the game, I wanted to see them throw a couple more doubles at him, just because he was the only player that was really doing anything for the Thunder, and then at the same time, you can live with losing Game 7 to Case and Wallace. You can't really live with losing Game 7 to Shea, but the Spurs stuck to their defense, and Shea just didn't really have quite enough to match the Spurs team performance. Chet Holmgren showed up with a massive 2-point Tony Snell performance. I've been saying this for a while. I truly believe that Chet is closer to DeAndre Ayton than he is to Victor Wembanyama. But that being considered, I don't know if it's the right move to trade him unless you can get Giannis. I think a lot of people have kind of been, I don't know if like sleeping is the right word on Giannis, just because he's been a little irrelevant with his injuries and his playoff performance. He hasn't really done much these past couple years, but healthy, that's still a top 3 player in the NBA. You know, if you can get him, you gotta get him. And then with the salary cap stuff and the second apron, windows are a lot shorter. You're not gonna get the 8 in a row finals appearances like the Warriors and Cavs, just because you can't sustain your team that way anymore. That's why there's been parity in the league like nothing we've ever seen. 8 consecutively different winners in the finals in the NBA. You know, there's 2-3 year windows where if you could make a run and you can win it, you've got to go for it. So if they can move Chet for Giannis, I'd do it. But other than that, they're gonna have to come off Hardenstein this year, I'm pretty sure. I don't know exactly what the contract situation is looking like, but I believe they're going to come off some of their key players, Hartenstein, Dort, maybe Wallace. So if you're going to lose Hartenstein and Chet in the same summer, you kind of got to get something big for him, and I think Giannis would be well worth that price. But they'll be back next year, a little bit worse, just because they're coming off these players. They'll be a top team still for sure. Hopefully they just don't ever win again. And then on the Knicks side, honestly for the longest time, I was in the camp of what seemed seemed to be the popular opinion that the finals were being played in the West and that whoever would win that would for sure beat the East team. I think I still do believe that, but I think the Knicks are very good. Coming off of 2 sweeps, they've had as much rest as you can ask for, while on the flip side, Wembanyama's minutes have shot from 28-29 in the regular season and the first 2 rounds to like 37 in 7 games against the Thunder. So the Spurs are pretty run down while the Knicks are at maximum rest, and they're pretty much as hot as you could possibly be going back to the 4 sweeps. You know, they're on fire. They have a strong 5. You know, they could run 5 shooters with Cat at center. A lot of people are banking off Mitchell Robinson, which I don't think is a great idea. Mitchell Robinson is a really like a conceptual player. You know, he's more like a theory. It's like, yeah, he's a hustle guy. He'll get offensive rebounds. He's a big 7-foot body you can throw at Wemby. You know, we've seen Wemby struggle a little bit with crashing the defensive glass in this series against Hartenstein. But then when Mitchell Robinson actually gets on the court, it's like he gets played off the court sometimes just because he's the worst free throw shooter ever and the other teams will just hack him, which I'm sure is a strat we'll see the Spurs do. And then he's always injured every second of every minute of his life, so I'm sure he'll miss a couple games there. It's just not something you really want to rely on. It's just like if he's there, it's a bonus, but I would never bank on him changing or shifting games. Not that it can't happen, it's just not good to incorporate such an inconsistency into a key part of your game plan. Outside of him though, Brunson, Bridges, Hart, Anunoby, Cat, that's a solid 5. And, you know, Brunson is a dog, but I don't know how it'll look against Wemby. Pretty sure they split the season series 1-1. The Spurs won by 2, and then the Knicks blew them out once, and then the Knicks won the NBA Cup, which is a rematch of the finals. It'll be a great series, truly. If New York wins, I wouldn't be mad, just because, you know, it'd be a huge moment. So they haven't won since the Walt Frazier days. For the Spurs, obviously, like I said, that would put Wemby on a different type of level, and I do think the Spurs deserve it. They've had the harder road. They've brought the Thunder to justice, but at the same time, you'd be happy for Brunson, a 2nd-round pick in the Knicks. This is just great. You know, there's no complaining here. There's no losing. This is a fantastic finals. If I had to guess, I would probably take Spurs in 6, would be my estimation. I do think it is closer than I initially thought with how good the Knicks are, but ultimately I do think the Spurs are on a different level. Like if I had to do my Dragon Ball Z power scaling calculations, the 76ers are like Raditz, the Cavs are like Nappa, the Knicks are probably like Vegeta, but then I'm not sure what exactly the Spurs are. Are the Spurs base Goku? Are they Kaioken 6 Goku? Are they Kaioken 10 Goku? Are they Super Saiyan 1 Goku? They're better, I just don't know how much better they are than the Knicks. But yeah, I really can't believe it. Victor's really done it. He's brought the Thunder to justice. Get him a statue. You know, get him a statue in France. Get him a statue in San Antonio. Get him a statue in every country in the world. It's really Wemby's world now. I know the league's been looking for a new face for when LeBron decides to hang it up, and they were pushing a little bit towards Ja or Zion, and both of those guys ended up being absolute trash. And then after that, I remember they asked Edwards once, they were like, do you want to be the face of the league? And Edwards was like, not really. You know, you guys got Wemby, and yeah, we got Wemby. It's pretty much as good as you can get. You can just tell how much this guy cares. Even going back to like the All-Star game where by himself, he kind of came out and shifted what this historical NBA event that's been garbage for 20 years or whatever, you know, 10 years. It's been complete trash. And just with the attitude that he came out with, it kind of shifted things a little bit this year. I wouldn't say he completely made the All-Star game great again, but him by himself has made it better than any of the changes the league has actually done. I know Bill Simmons talks a lot about the guys that give a shit and how important that is, and it really is like the most important thing you could ask for. And Wemby's top of that list. Like, you could just tell he cares more than anyone. Among the young players, I'd say Ant is up there. You could tell Ant truly cares too. Coming off that really bad knee injury and playing through the whole thing. Cade, I would say, is another one that seems like he truly cares. Same type of thing with Ant, you know, coming off the collapsed lung and coming back in like 2 weeks, fighting to 7 in the playoffs. That's kind of where the league's headed, and I think it's in a great spot, and I think Wemby as the face is perfect. There's not a better player you could ask for. So yeah, overall, shout out Wemby, shout out France, shout out Tyrese. I know he's somewhere out there smiling down on us, the ghost of Halliburton, but yeah, that's about it.